Where'd you get these pictures? Boy, that guy looks like a slick dandy. I'm one of the greatest generation. And I did not know during the war when they talked about the great generation. We didn't understand that. We were kids when we left home. But after the war, we came home, we understood. We jumped out of school and joined up to fight the enemy from coming into our country. It was American. It was patriotic. We all pulled together. That's why we fought so darn good. We were 16 years old in Detroit. We're sitting in an old car in front of our house. It's the day after Pearl Harbor. Then all of a sudden the announcer comes on and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this broadcast. The President of the United States will address the nation." He said, "Yesterday, December 7th, 1941,
a date which will live in infamy, we will gain the inevitable triumph.
So help us God." I said, "Fellas, I'm skipping school tomorrow and I'm going to join the Marine Corps." They said, "You can't, you got to be 17. I said, "I'll be a 17 in 6 months. I'm going to go get the paperwork." 6 months later, we had a birthday party, small one. My father was there, ex-Marine. I brought that paper out to him and he said, "What's that?" I said, "I'm going in the Marine Corps. I'm 17 now. I'm going to take that back, but I got to have you and Ma sign it." He said, "Give me a pen." Well, that's it. That's how I joined the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps, in boot camp, you learn your buddy's name. You learn everybody's name because you have to know who's on your left and right. You have to know what his name is. That's what we learn. You train with them. You live with them. You're brothers. You're in a family, a military family. After boot camp, I was assigned to the 5th Marine Division. That was Roosevelt's pride job. Nobody knew where we were going till one day out. It was hush. And then they told us. Some lieutenants brought up clay models of Iwo Jima. I said, "How many do you think is on that island? That's only 8 square miles." He said, "We estimate somehow about 22,000. We're figuring 1 to 2 weeks. Well, it lasted 6. A bloody battle from beginning to end.
I think the Japanese kind of figured out that this is on the way for the B-29s coming in over to Tokyo. So I think they anticipated that this would be something that the Americans would want to take. The Japanese defenders fill it up with artillery, pillboxes, it's crevices, caves galore. They've been working on this for months. We have been attacking Iwo Jima from the latter part of 1944 into 1945. We're trying to make life miserable for the Japanese on the island. That being said, we arrive off of Iwo Jima 3 days earlier and start this 3-day bombardment. We fly over the island and we just see all these craters, and you gotta think, nobody could have survived all that. Well, you know, we're gonna be in for a surprise on D-Day itself, February the 19th.
That morning we got up at 5 o'clock because we heard gun shooting. And the planes were fighting above us. There were guns hammering away. They were just pulverizing that island. We line up, they got little tables they put up, and we had breakfast. And I said to a kid next to me, "Hey, buddy, what's with the steak and eggs? We always had eggs, but they never gave us a steak before." He said, "Graves, use your head. What do they do with convicts before they execute them?" Then we heard, "All hands aboard your landing crafts." And we got in, and the guns are way behind us, over our heads on the island. Then suddenly, guns stop. The Navy's done. And there was an island full of smoke. And we took off. Halfway there, I heard poof, poof, like that. And I thought, what is that? So I kind of braced myself up, looked off the fantail. Their cannons were blowing our boats up with our buddies in it. They seemed to be taking the ones in the back because they were ready for us. Now, when I hit the beach of Iwo Jima, 72-pound flamethrower on my back. You know, it's strange. I was not scared. I wasn't scared. I felt like I'm going into a new adventure, which it was. Well, when they started throwing rockets on us and snipers just hitting us, that got me right there because I knew I could be the next one to go. I lay face down on the sand. There was no place to go, and they were hammering down on us, and we lost 200 boys on that beach. John Basilone, Medal of Honor, Guadalcanal. He got killed right on my right. It's starting to get dark. I buried my face, I was scared. And I said, God, I don't know much about you. I've never gone to church, very little. But if you can do for me what people say you can do, I will follow you the rest of my life. We figured that if you don't get off that beach, you don't win. Our boys would move along, and I'd follow up because the Japanese, they're hunkered down in those caves. One shot. Poof. It went up. And out they run on fire, then our riflemen pick them off. It's a terrible way, but that's war. That's what we did. Terrible.
Flamethrowers, not a very wholesome thing. Nobody wanted to be near a guy with a flamethrower because they were targets.
I'm the only one that came home in my battalion as a flamethrower. We lost them all. Tall ones didn't last at all. Terrible.
It's a very hazardous job. They're the ones that they call on to really knock out caves, pillboxes. Basically, it'll take out anything inside it, but also it's gonna suck out the oxygen. This is the weapon the Japanese fear the most. And Japanese defenders see one of these guys coming up, that's gonna be the target. The life expectancy was 4.5 minutes, and the casualty rate was like 92% for flamethrowers.
I don't think we would want Iwo Jima if we hadn't had flamethrowers. Because Japanese, they had 16 miles of caves underneath there. 5 stories deep, I found out when I went back.
We got up on the beach, made a left turn 545 feet to the base of Suribachi. We got there the 3rd day. That's how rough it was. There really wasn't much of a battle on Suribachi. It was coming to Suribachi. They had a defense all around the base. So we're coming up on the top fighting. They're throwing hand grenades down on us. We finally made it up the top. And as we get up there and look, they're raising that thing up. Our boys rigged up that flag. Incidentally, I don't think you know this, but the pole that the flag was tied to, drain pipe. And they found wire to tie it with.
Well, we just threw our hands up and yelled and saw the second flag go up. You could hear the ships tooting their horns and everything. A lot of people thought we'd won the island, but that wasn't the case. We was there 36 days.
It's the 6th week now. We're just waiting for them to come at us at night. We get word we're going to be released by the 3rd Division. 18 of us walked off out of 300 Marines. No officers. We lost our battalion there. We marched down by the cemetery. Our regimental commander, he said, men, I want you to march through that gate, and I want you to say goodbye to your buddies and your officers. We lined up. Every Marine that went through that gate stopped and read an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper attached to the left pole on the arch. When I got there, this is what I read. Fellas, when you go home, tell the folks we did our best, that they may have many more tomorrows. Not a dry eye went through that gate. I'll never forget that.
It's pretty hard to take. Something I can never forget, no matter how hard I try.
That was a rough job. Those are our buddies there. A lot of good men buried there. Good men. That hill there is responsible for a lot of graves there.
March 26, over a month, the island was finally declared secure. There's still Japanese holdouts, but for the most part, we were already conducting flight operations. In the end, so many casualties, upwards of 25,000. Iwo Jima plus Okinawa gave an idea about how fierce the Japanese were going to defend their homeland. Given the choice, Truman said we need to use this bomb versus holding out and conducting an invasion, where thousands of Marines are going to continue to die as the war goes on. The fight that the Marines put up and what they overcame at Iwo Jima, it's nothing short of inspirational. It gets passed down, that heritage, that legacy. The Marines at Iwo Jima contributed to that, and I think that inspires our armed forces, to this day.
I love my country. I love that flag. I love all patriotic songs. I love the American people. But Memorial Day, this is where the American people have got to break down and pay attention to what has been done through the wars that we fought. Get together and talk about people that we lost. It's very sad, but I don't want to stop talking about it. I want them to know what we went through. I want them to know what every member of the greatest generation did. Remember,